Alright, so I'm just back from cinema. I've been to the movies, I've been to theater, whatever you call that, and I watched Jurassic World Rebirth. Yeah, I'm a bit late, but life is happening, so I didn't have the chance to go earlier. But today, I will give my very first ever movie review because, oh my god, what is this movie? I have so much to say about that, and most of it is potentially not great. So here's a disclaimer, okay? I'm 35 years old, so when the first movie happened, I was 3 years old. So it's not like I've been originally there. I watched that movie way later, so it's used to be an older movie for the original for me too. So it's paired nostalgia, but also I had the chance to already see the first movie from a bit of a perspective from years later, so where technology was already evolved. And I'm saying that at the beginning of a review of a brand new movie because I'll get to that in a bit, why I think they have to turn that time machine on or just stop the whole franchise. I'm just gonna jump in with my opinion right away because there's so much to like about this movie, the new movie I should say, but then again there's so much I just can't get together. Okay, but now let's get into it a bit more structured. This movie is set a couple years after the events of a Dominion, and it already starts a little bit odd in my opinion when, you've got that events like 13 or 17 years earlier. I didn't get that quite in my mind, like 2025 should be the year it's set, so that must be 2008. But for 2008 standards, this kind of engine lab looked way too old for me, so usually that should be 1998, that I would have believed, but not a kind of, I don't know, a 2008 one. And I'm also kind of thinking about when was Jurassic World then created? Is that engine working for Jurassic World or the original park? They said for the original park. That was confusing to me as hell, and I also kind of felt so made up because we had Site B, we had sauna, or we had kind of other areas there as well. I mean, sauna, Site B, whatever, you get the idea. There was so much wild stuff going on to kind of force this story, and also we are jumping into the storyline very quickly with that first scene with that dinosaur in the midst of the streets because they're dying from like disease and problems with like the environment, and they can only survive in the equator area. Like all these things felt so super forced to me that it just, I don't know, it felt off. They never talked about that kind of thing during the events of Jurassic World Dominion, for example, which I don't know. The whole movie is set to be named Rebirth, and so I was expecting kind of to reboot this kind of franchise in how it's set. And yes, by putting and moving all these dinosaurs in the equator area, you kind of get the idea back of a contained area. But this is where things stop for me to kind of make sense. From there on, the plot is relatively easy. Go on an island, kind of survive, get something back from the island that potentially makes you rich. But the rich guy is dying apparently, as always. By the way, if I didn't say it's kind of a spoiler video, I put the kind of note at the beginning. So yeah, okay. So all these things aside, there were some very cool action scenes. There were some very good scenes. But even in these scenes, there was some weird stuff. And then the movie ends with like how you always expect them to end. That one person not dying and the villain dying and the big monster at the end. We'll get to the monster, by the way. I'm not calling that one dinosaur. It's definitely a monster. But kind of then that last scene with the dolphins is potentially worse CGI than the original movie if it had any. I personally was so upset about that last scene. That just gave me weirdest vibes of bad CGI. Like, it's already memeable in my opinion. That's how bad it was. And there were some other scenes that were incredibly bad in my opinion, but then others were incredibly great. The whole movie didn't feel coherent in its quality, visual quality. And all these things together made me so confused. I liked it more, and I should say that I liked it more than Dominion. Dominion was quality-wise maybe a lot better when it comes to the whole movie, but it felt again so far off the original idea of Jurassic Park that I kind of don't really kind of feel anything about this movie. I watched it a couple times, but like the first time was great because I was invited back then by Frontier to an event, so that was kind of cool. In the midst of that event, it felt better than it was, but watching these movies a couple times after wasn't really that great. And now back to Rebirth. So what do I like about the characters? I do like the two main characters. They are brilliant, because of the actors being brilliant. They don't really kind of, I even forgot the guy's name all of a sudden, so they don't connect with me that much. This is like, they're great, but it's not like you don't have a deep connection to those two, because they're like so much representing the original characters. That new guy played by Jonathan is definitely the new Alan Grant in a way, and just kind of I don't know, Scarlett Johansson, she's playing wonderfully in that movie. I guess one of her best actings, at least I think, for what she's meant to be doing. It's not like that, per se it's so great, but she was asked to play the role the way she did, so that was good. Tad bit too funny in my opinion in the midst of dying, but that's aside. I think that was a very good way of playing that character, and I think she has a good role in that character. I could see that character going on, but hear me out, I don't want it to be going on. I don't want a successor of that movie. I don't want a follow-up. I don't want a rebirth to anything. You know what? And this is the moment where I'm stopping to go deep into detail, apart from we need to talk about the D-Rex, but I have the feeling they moved themselves into a situation where there is no chance to kind of save the Jurassic World idea. Scrap that. We need something else. Maybe it's Jurassic Park Reloaded. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be Jurassic Universe. It's Jurassic whatever. I don't know. But we need a complete reset. And even if you need to kill some of the lore that exists now, if you go like, Isla Nublar is completely destructed, the volcano erupted, the island is gone, everything is gone. Side B is destroyed anyways, but never gone back there, so potentially that would be a thing, but why would you go back to the original? San Diego kind of never played a role even, and then you have that situation of having now dying dinosaurs all across the world. Where is that black market? Is it gone? I don't know. No one mentioned anything about this. There's no connect between those. There's like one mentioning of Alan Grant because he, like that new guy, studied with him. So yeah, it's just kind of, that was just a fan service, nothing else. And I kind of, all these things together, I don't know where they would even want to go to at least give us a bit of a nicer plot, What I do like, and this is where we are, as I said, we're not going to go too much in detail of the story, but what I do like about this movie, and please, if you do anything Jurassic again, please stick to that. Like, one of the biggest things I was annoyed by, specifically in Dominion, but also the movie before, I absolutely dislike the way how these animals became too friendly. Like, the raptor kind of story was okay, I guess, them being trained from being very small, and you can see nowadays people living in a pack of lions not being attacked by them if you kind of am the leader of the pack and live with them for years and years and years. Like that I think can work, it's fine, but then you had like all the time Rexy was kind of coming in to secure the day, and other animals, just like it didn't feel right, to the point that Chaos Theory, the kid series, which not really is a kid series, has been my absolute favorite, because in that, the dinosaurs, in the events of Dominion and so on, that was the series where the dinosaurs felt actually lethal. That's where they chop up, arms of kids. That is the series, what you have. And I don't know how the movies could go so far away from that. That was just like peak Hollywood family entertainment, which is not Jurassic, at least not for me personally. And I like the fact that they didn't do that in that movie. Some very nice kill scenes, some very nice kind of moments. Also, that is not kid friendly. Shall I put that in the title? No, I mean, I never put that video or my videos as kid friendly, so I'm safe here. But no, a couple of very nice scenes when it comes to very nice dino action. I like that, and them being very lethal in the entire movie made a lot of sense and made me feel a lot more comfortable with the situation of being on an island where you definitely shouldn't be, which is exactly what they did. Also, the fact you're back on an island did particularly work well. I think just Jurassic in a city environment doesn't really work well, so I do like this. But where does this leave me? It just kind of leaves me with a movie that I liked. In a way, it was good to watch, you know. It's not like that I regret going to cinema for that one, but at the same time, it's nowhere near Jurassic World for me. The Jurassic World movie, I really do like that one, because the idea of seeing the park working, you know, Jurassic Park actually is the one that never opened, but then Jurassic World opened. I do see an absolute chance, like from a realism standpoint, that someone went back and tried to create the Jurassic Park actually, because, you know, the events on Isla Nublar in 1993, as bad as they were, in, you know, corporate greed and the world, if that power is unleashed, there's absolutely no way you wouldn't try that again. So that leaves me with maybe my potential idea, but again, having a theme park yet again for a third time would feel absolutely weak as well. But I think the only chance they have is kind of try to kill some plot. I know it's sometimes needed, and you know, some people, I call that on my YouTube channel, if you move yourself in a completely weird direction where you don't feel coming back from, you need to kill your babies, which that means don't literally do that, you know. That's also illegal, but it means that you take what you actually love but you can't let go. You have to let go in order to move on, in order to become better again. Like, I don't particularly dislike the acting. I don't particularly dislike the actors or the setting or the visuals. It all was quite nice in that movie, but it didn't feel connected to a bigger meaning. See, if you go back, and this is why I started the video with Jurassic Park, the movie. Again, I'm born in 1990, so when the movie released, I was 3, and the moment I was potentially able to understand the greatness of that movie, that's already 10 years later, apparently. And I remember watching it for the first time. I watched that at my friend's house with the dad. His dad has been a crazy fan of Jurassic Park. I don't know how many times he's watched it, but we watched it together. And I remember that day, I see myself sitting there in awe and watching that movie, and like everything feels amazing about this because of everything working together, you know. The dinosaur action, very nice. The plot, horrific, but yet at the same time, you could relate to the characters. It felt exactly how it should with a movie like that. You felt relief when it was over, and you still wanted more. And that is exactly what I'm missing from a movie like that. I couldn't care less at the same time as I liked it, but I couldn't care less. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. Again, as I said, I forgot all the names other than Sora. That is all. Maybe I remember them tomorrow, but there was no deeper connection. And also that guy in the end, he's also played by a great actor. But again, yeah, it was obvious he isn't gonna die. But also, why didn't he die? And all, I mean, you don't need an explanation for that. It's plot armor, but hey, I mean, and then you had all these weird scenes like the dinosaur not even being able to bite into an inflatable boat, I guess. Or like he did bite into it, but it did not deflate for whatever reason. I don't know what kind of company is creating those rafts, but I need one if that's the case. An indestructible raft is of a good need, of a good use. Yeah, gosh, guys, where does it leave me? As I said, I don't particularly dislike it, but it's not in my highest ranking of the Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movies at all. It just is above the last 2 World movies, but other than that, the originals and the Jurassic World is definitely ranked higher in my personal opinion, because for what they do in a cinematic kind of thing, and I always try to think about which movie would I watch again. You know, Jurassic Park 1 I could watch all over 3 times a day, no problem at all. But like after that comes definitely Jurassic Park 2, and then actually World, and then 3. I don't know, something like that. But you know, they're close together. I think a bigger chance for this franchise lies in killing some of the plot, or stepping completely away from it and look into chaos theory, because what they're doing with this series is absolutely great. Maybe go deeper in that kind of idea, maybe go even with the same cast. I mean, I never wanted that, but maybe them grown up as actual characters. Maybe you kill then the chaos theory series, which isn't a good thing at all. but I think this would be a great idea, you know, having 5 teenage kids, maybe not kids, you know, teenage kids or young adults in that kind of area. I don't know. That would potentially give the whole thing a bit more meaning, a bit more connection to the characters you already love. Could be a thing, but I'm just rambling at this point because the whole thing leaves me confused. I can't give a rating like, oh yeah, that is nice, that's not. As I said, it's all puzzle pieces. It feels exactly like that. It feels like an unsolved puzzle. And I don't think that you can solve that puzzle. That's the point. No matter how you do it, it will not get this one nice picture. It will get a picture of the D-Rex. And I think the D-Rex is exactly what I mean. It's the explanation of everything. The explanation of why it doesn't work. The D-Rex is absolutely unnecessary. There is no way why you would have a certain thing like that. Yes, you create a hybrid and then there's this very vague kind of explanation. Hey, it did cost 75 million, but it does destroy everything. No one will ever use that one. It's way too big. It's way too powerful. You'll not put that in any park. It's just here, but we keep it because it's 75 million. Maybe some Indian guy potentially is going to buy it, or a Brazilian one or a Korean one, just to mention that it's just random rich person. Hell, why? And as I said, the end of the movie didn't even need that D-Rex. There is no, like, let 5 of these Spinos, which have an absolutely amazing design. I would have loved them to be more on land. Let 5 of these Spinos join the party. That is scary as heck. Why do you need that thing? Also, these kind of flying mutant things, which were some kind of thing I would see Keanu Reeves fighting with a crucifix or something like that. Again, so you didn't need that. And it's always the idea of, yeah, we need to be more scary. Yeah, you need to be bigger and more hybrid and more. This is not the formula of Jurassic Park and the Jurassic franchise. It's never been about size and never been about the, you know, horrificness, I guess, of these creatures. If you look into the original, why certain animals were the way they were, I mean, there are definitely some creative decisions, but most of it also goes down about the knowledge of the time. It's not like that they made the Velociraptor unfeathered because they liked it. It's just like back in the day, people believed they were just having scales and no feathers at all. The idea about this came just later. So, and then also they switched between the Deinonychus and the Velociraptor, but then went with the Velociraptor because the name was more scary. I get that, it's all fine, you know, but the movie was well written, well filmed. Scale framing was done insanely well, and again, it wasn't about the horrificness of the size of the monstrous appeal of these animals. It's the depiction of these things living in a different timeline as they were meant to be. That is the formula. And again, the same goes about the Titanosaurus in that valley. 2 things completely put me off. They are already enormous creatures, the biggest ever to roam the world, or maybe the new one that has been recently kind of discovered maybe takes that crown somehow. But again, they were way too big in that movie, way too big. And I was like, again, you don't need that. You don't need it. It doesn't change anything about the greatness. Also, again, a very great design of that animal. I would wish to see that in Jurassic World Evolution 3 at some point. But you didn't need that. And you have that camera panning out, and the amount of dinosaurs in that picture, let alone these only, would have eaten the entire island in one day, and then there was no freaking nature left anymore. Why would you do certain things like that? Put like 30 of them in, you're good. But there were like 300 of them, and they're like bigger, bigger, bigger. For what reason? And again, some of the CGI was absolutely poorly done, and that was one of the scenes that was really absolutely bad. You could even see the copies of the packs that were just moving simultaneously the exact same way. And I'm like, again, you didn't need that copy of it. Why don't you just leave it out when it's already a copy of it and you do notice that? Again, certain things like that were really, really bad, and I really hope that they went in and reconsider what they have done with the franchise, and they called it Rebirth. And this is where I want to end this video. Let me quickly talk about the D-Rex one more time. Again, other than the fact you didn't need it, other than the fact that, again, moment it has been there and just it runs away because of light. Yes, it's kind of a nod to the original, I guess, but why? It's just a weird hybrid monster, as if it potentially doesn't have eagle eyes for whatever sake, but yeah, and the design of it is anything I would ever imagine in Jurassic. These kind of flying thingies, Mutadodon or whatever they were called, kind of go in, you know, that weird kind of hybrid between, what was that, a raptor and a pteranodon? I don't know even what they wanted to do with this one. But it, again, looked also more like a heavy mutant creature of, like, maybe, I don't know, Stranger Things would feature. I have no idea. And then the D-Rex is straight out of Alien or something like this. It never fits in that genre, and people were already worried about this in the trailer, and I was too. I didn't want to let myself spoil. I've seen some of the toys, actually, and my friend also, who I went with to cinema, he also showed me a picture of that one after the movie because he didn't want to spoil me. Yeah, the design, no, it absolutely doesn't fit. Like, I don't know if kids nowadays want it. Maybe I'm totally wrong with my opinion, that fine, or people like it, I don't know. I mean, it's you know, it's doing well on the money side of things, so we will have to get into a new movie, and potentially I will go back into movie again, but my expectations will be again even lower, and I wish that they would just reconsider what they're doing, because, and now this is where I want to end, the movie was called Rebirth, and maybe it's just me, but why? What does that title mean? What are you going to rebirth? What is going to be reborn? The creature's dying, okay? And then they extract blood to secure humans. Which means humans are reborn, which is not the thing, because they will just live longer. So thanks, I guess, because we had that weird conversation of them sitting there and, like, you know, dinosaurs lived for 140 million years and we just lived for 200,000 years, so whatever, and we are clever enough to kill ourselves, which, by the way, is true. And then, like, this whole thing leads to the fact that we extract stuff from animals to live longer, I guess. Is that meant? Or what's the case? Like, what happens? I don't even know, guys. I don't even know why the whole thing was called Rebirth. It could have been, I don't know, climate catastrophe makes dinosaurs move to the equator. No, but, like, see, the point is, I was hoping for a reboot of that series, like maybe the discovery of a different company. You know, we've had Biosyn, we've had InGen, but there are more companies in the whole franchise, so you could have used them as well. But no, they're not in there. So I don't really know. And also, you went back again to InGen. Like, okay, fine, that would have been InGen to that side, and to, in that time. Fine, but I don't really understand what is going on. Also, the whole lore has also a real issue at that point where they did actually create Indominus Rex on the island, on Isla Nublar, years later when you get to that. So, yeah, well, guys, I would have loved to say much more positive things about the movie, because I liked it. As I said, I liked it more than the other ones, like the last two ones at least. And visually, I liked it for the most part. Also, I liked the design of Castellacos, you know, Dino Names 1, Rudi 0. But also, I liked the T-Rex design. I liked the design of mostly any creature. The Raptor has a very short appearance only, but I like that one too. And yeah, there were some very good things in there, bits and puzzle pieces, as I said, that I really did like, and I really do hope. The Mosasaur was also very nice, even though, again, way too big. Did I already say that? And also the Spinos in the water, that kind of whole beach scene, amazing. Really love that. Really love that, even though I've waited for one of those just coming out of the water exactly. But that moment when that one just moved and you thought it was a rock, that was a very good scene. I really love that. I would have needed more of that. But then there were all these odd scenes of zoom shots, and then you saw a weird creature creeping down a tree and up and down. It's like, what is that even? Why do we need that? Yeah, so many whys in that one. I would have loved to like it more, but I don't. And I gave you a lot of my opinion now, why, and reasoning behind why I have that opinion that I have. And again, if there's anything new about this whole thing, I wish they stop exploiting that kind of, yeah, we extract something for doing some odd things. Let us go back to the dinosaur action, okay? Let us go to an underground market kind of, or underground network doing certain things, or let us go back to a theme park, a legal theme park idea, or a natural sanctuary where something goes wrong, but not because of biosyn, but something else. I don't know, but I need this more down to the creatures, the original animals, and that feeling of we are trapped in a contained area where these crazy animals, you know, live and just want to kill anything that crosses their way, and you need to survive in there somehow, which part of the movie was about, but then again, you know, it was all so staged and felt wrong, and I don't know, it just, yeah. That's it. I don't know. Let's discuss in the comments. Let me know what you think about this movie. I rated kind of, I don't know, 6 out of 10 maybe. 6.5, maybe too harsh. I don't know. 6.5 out of 10, I guess, is what I would rate it. Because of some of the very good visuals, because of some of the good acting, and visual appearance in general. But more, there's not really an argument for me personally why it would be rated higher. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you did, that was my first ever movie review, and that is more of a spontaneous thing because I need to get it out somehow. And well, yeah, let's discuss in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you as always in the next one.